one huge name that we have brought up is Conor McGregor. I think Kareem Zidane's reporting on McGregor basically post-fighting career has been fantastic. Recently, he visited the Trump White House on St. Patrick's Day. He would say Ireland is at the cusp of potentially losing its Irishness due to a so-called illegal immigration racket. What is going on in Ireland is a travesty. He also attended the Donald Trump inauguration. He was deemed liable for essaying Nikita Han in Dublin in December 2018. The total damages from that trial, over 248,000 euros. According to Zidane, McGregor helped stoke anti-immigrant sentiments that led to one of the most violent riots in Dublin's history. And he has, I remember seeing this because I did some reporting on it, but Conor McGregor was seen in an AI image where it basically looked like the Irish version of the Proud Boys. Since he is, it appears, probably most likely done fighting, and Elon Musk, who is very rich because of government subsidies and also because he obviously came from a very wealthy family in South Africa, has said that Conor McGregor should be president of Ireland. Is he going to two-parter? Is he going to fight again? And what do you make of this political turn that he has had?
Okay, let's answer the questions in the order you asked them. Is he going to fight again? It is possible. I would not rule it out. However, he's going to get waxed. Like, if he fights anybody even halfway good, he's going to get hurt real bad. His fighting days in any kind of way that you would recognize them are effectively over. They're not technically over to the point you raise. He also has become a major investor and something of a face of the brand of this kind of like semi-sport called, or it's a sport, but semi-new sport anyway, called bare knuckle. It's bare knuckle boxing, but it's not what you think. It's not like regular boxing, and then they're just not have gloves on. The rules are adjusted. The fighting surfaces is adjusted. Like everything about it is designed for like maximum car crash carnage. But it's actually pretty popular as far as, you know, sub UFC combat sports organizations go. He has hinted he might fight for them one day, you know. So there are ways in which you might see him again, but as any kind of, let's just say this, relevant force, he's finished. He's totally finished. Okay, that's the first part. The second part, basically what you're seeing for Americans listening to this, some Americans now know this, and the word's starting to get out, but if many do not know this, Conor McGregor is absolutely reviled in Ireland. I mean, he is public enemy number one. They hate him there. It is not ambiguous at all. I've talked to a lot of my Irish colleagues who, you know, for a time may have been a little bit hesitant to kind of criticize for some of his past indiscretions because he was still popular there or he's still a figure of, you know, importance. All that has changed. He is not that at all, and it's not just the Nikita Han case, the one you referenced earlier. It's any number of different events. And by the way, Nikita Han is hardly the first woman who has accused him of assault or even sexual assault.
Yep.
She was just the first one to be able to take him to a trial, essentially. Civil trial, but a trial nonetheless. In any case, he is, I mean, persona non grata. So his chance of achieving anything politically is low. Now, we've said that about Trump, and here he is. But, you know, the reality is, like, Trump cleaned out the RNC and then, like, restaffed it. Like, he completely remade that party in his own image. And part of what that required was them forgiving him for, you know, or not merely forgiving him, but like defending and not even caring about grabbing by the pussy and all this stuff, right? And, you know, obviously he also had a trial where he was found liable for essentially, you know, his own version of a similar kind of thing that Conor was accused of. I mean, different circumstances, different court systems, but there's a fair degree of overlap. But I mean this to say, the best way to understand Conor is to treat him like Eric Adams. So Eric Adams is the mayor of New York City, and, you know, this is a guy who is a political opportunist, if ever there was one. And he basically tells the city, don't enforce our sanctuary city laws. Nobody can talk bad about Trump, blah, blah, blah. And then they just drop the case against him related to his previous accused impropriety. Conor is looking to launder his image by going full MAGA. That's what he's looking to do. And you might say, well, that's not going to help him with his political ambitions in Ireland. And again, I don't think that it will. But like, just ask yourself a question: like, what world is going to launder your image when you're accused, and in this case, found liable for the things that he has been accused and then therefore done in other cases? Two different places you would go to. One, combat sports, right? They'll forgive, and they don't give a shit who you are, right? By the way, not just true in MMA, true in boxing. The Saudis took over boxing in like a year. Like they don't like, oh, it's a it's a monarchy and a religious dictatorship that throws people in jail for 20 years for tweets. They don't care. They don't care. You can ask yourself, hey, why was the rumble in the jungle in Kinshasa? Google that one. You're not going to like the answer. Like, this is just the reality. You can launder anybody's reputation can be laundered. Now, of course, he does that through, a remained association in combat sports, but the MAGA element is the same kind of thing. That's the other world that's going to absolutely launder your image and just pretend that they don't care about any of that, so long as you profess fealty to their ideals or political vision or you name it. And so it's like, why is he playing by the same kind of playbook that Trump is playing with this anti-immigrant one? Well, that's him showing that if I do these things, I want the kind of, resurrection, so to speak, that he saw Trump get in whatever kind of way he wants it for himself, whether it's this political office or another one down the line, or, whatever it may be. So to me, it's like maintaining this affiliation with BKFC/MMA and UFC, and then at the same time going full MAGA. It's just this I mean, he might believe some of it, I'm sure, but a lot of it is a clear transactional play to go to the two worlds that don't care how much of an absolute dirtbag you are. They'll try and clean you up, or at a bare minimum, just pretend like they don't even care and reintroduce you into the pipeline of power. And I think that's what he wants.
But what also troubles me, and it's positive to hear that he's deeply unpopular. What's troubling to me is that his movement is gaining steam within the worst realms of society. There's a German neo-Nazi MMA league that is sharing his tweets and referencing his tweets. We mentioned the anti-migrant hysteria that is going on with McGregor. I completely agree with everything that you said about how if there is ever an organization or movement to launder his image, these two are certainly it. But it also feels like at this point in time that a lot of it is authentic, that this is probably how he felt. He degrades women. He does not care about his significant other. There's another case, by the way, that is coming up where these are allegations, but it occurred at the Miami Heat's arena. So there's something stateside as well. So yes, laundering image, true, but it also feels like this just may be who he is.
I am sympathetic to that to a degree. I just think that, again, one more time, Donald Trump, boxing promoter. Dana White, MMA, now turning boxing promoter. Conor McGregor, boxing promoter. Guys, like these are the least trustworthy people who will say absolutely anything that they feel like they need to and not care about lying, because once again, to do that job effectively, that's what you have to do. So it takes a certain kind of constitution to do that kind of a job, right? It takes a certain, I mean, it's, again, some are a little scummy, but mostly wholesome, right? That does exist. A little bit dirtbag, but whatever. But then some are just full on dirtbags. So, I just want to remind people that, like, these guys who are taking these jobs as fight promoters, that's really who they are, if anything. But what I would say is, I've been this is going to sound silly, but I've been reading a lot about the philosophical nature of impunity. And I've been reading a little bit. I've actually been, it's been a topic of mine for the last, like, a year and a half. Because I've been trying to understand the same kind of question you're asking, and I want to be clear. I'm I don't have any expertise in continental philosophy or otherwise. But what I would say is one thing that kind of keeps coming up in my ability to discern anybody who is, or ability to find anybody who has written about this in a way that is in any way relevant, is that impunity and again, like to do what he has been found liable for. And again, I reviewed I didn't have the direct evidence, but I talked to a person who covered the trial that he was in. You know, the forensic evidence in that case to me does not appear ambiguous. It's not ambiguous. Like it's like again, it's Occam's razor, and we don't have CCTV footage of the alleged act in question, but I it seems to me like quite obvious he did what, at least it seems that he. My belief is that he did what he was accused of doing. I bring us all up to say, I think that is a point in these lives where like, oh, it's who they always were. I think that there was a part of that element to who he was. But like when you see somebody who acts with impunity, this is somebody who has undergone a bit of moral rot that took time. Impunity and moral impunity in particular stems from somebody who had a moment in time, or maybe several moments in time, where they may have been wrestling with their conscience, or their conscience may have been playing with them, and they were having difficulty working with that. And then they ultimately, either in that moment or again, a series of moments over time, begin to just quiet it on purpose and ignore it. And then once you get to that position, people are like, oh, it reveals the real you. Well, in a sense, it revealed something that was always there, but it reveals that as a metastasized version of itself, right? You are now no longer encumbered by conscience. You are now no longer encumbered by any kind of constraint and thoughtfulness about one's behavior beyond what it transactionally serves or whatever you can demonstrate for public purposes. And I think that's where he has found himself. I think Trump is the exact same kind of guy. I mean, I don't know enough about Trump's biography, but clearly this is not a guy who has, deep reconciliation or does any kind of real reconciling with his moral conscience in any kind of way. And to be clear, I'm not Mother Teresa, but I haven't punted on that as an important exercise. I feel like those kinds of things, they keep you grounded, they keep you sometimes paranoid. You can let it go too far, but you're at least wrestling with your actions and what you owe other people, what you owe yourself, and what you owe the broader community in which you live. And it takes time to undo that, but I think Conor has undone that. And so now it's just naked power plays and this act that he's willing to put on that is, to your point, probably a reflection of who he is, but it's also a reflection of the journey of moral rot that has developed, that has allowed him to arrive at this position.